Welcome to part 2 of the 3-part series about the Australian Broadcast Corporation's program, You Can't Ask That, this one being centered on fat. We have 5 fat panelists who are answering questions that ABC got off the internet from anonymous people. As I said previously, we know them as trolls. With that said, let's get to it.
Okay. How do you feel about the word obese?
It's a word. I don't tend to have feelings towards words.
That is without a doubt the most sensible thing said during this entire video. I'll give the man a lot of credit for it. I was worried about him, but he's pulled through quite nicely.
Well, I'm yet to meet a fat person who likes the word obese.
So you'd prefer to be called fat, or just have people ignore it altogether. Obese is just an adjective. My mother-in-law doesn't like to be called geriatric, and she's fucking 82, but she's going to have to get used to it because she goes to a gerontologist. I suggest you get used to it too. But then again, obese doesn't really describe you. Morbidly obese describes you.
I don't even understand it. So I don't. If anyone said it to me, I don't even know what does it mean.
If I had to write a caption for this snippet, it would be the laughing idiot.
In the original Latin, it refers to somebody who eats so much that they become very fat.
I'm going to assume that the editor for this project just missed that one. It got in there by mistake, because otherwise they wasted everyone's time on the most inane and meaningless statement that you could possibly make. Fuck.
Obese means that you've failed at being fat. It means that you've taken the next step from being fat to being extra fat.
Once again, this guy nails it. He is obviously the smartest one in this group. In fact, compare this statement to the previous one, and I think you've gone from 0 to infinity.
It's a pretty loaded word, and I much prefer the word fat.
And the needle slams right back to 0.
Being fat is bad enough. Obese is like, it's the O word. It's something that you don't want mentioned to you.
If you want to call me obese, you can call me obese. If you want to call me fat, you can call me fat. As long as you don't use it to label me as a bad person, then use whatever word you want.
Yeah, I know deep in the back of my head, but I'm obese, but I just don't want to say it to myself.
There's a study in contrast right there. The first guy who knows he needs to take care of himself, who understands what his problems are, can't bring himself to use the word obese. So he still has some hang-ups he's got to work through. The other guy in the glasses, he seems to be one of the most messed up people in the group, yet he's perfectly fine with labels. He doesn't care. As long as he said, you don't use it as a pejorative, which I think is completely understandable. In fact, I think it's the exact way to look at it.
When was the last time you were skinny?
Define skinny.
I've never been skinny. Even when I was born, I was a big chubby baby.
Another pathetic question. The answers are going to be all over the board on this one, and I don't see how they could be anything but. Not everyone has been skinny in their life. But what do you say? When was the last time you were normal? Oh shit, that's really going to raise some hackles.
I was kind of average until I was 11, 12, 13 maybe, puberty, But I've never been skinny. I've never wanted to be skinny.
My mother couldn't lift me up anymore when I was like 4 or 5. It's just my genetic makeup. I wouldn't have a clue what being skinny's like.
Like I said, from one side of the spectrum to the other. But now, like earlier, we're going to get away from that question and slide into some tangents without any warning whatsoever.
When I was a child, I actually wasn't what you'd call overweight. In my family, there is a real phobia of fat, especially along my father's side of the family.
Losing weight is considered that's like a magic thing and people want it.
So I asked to go on a diet when I was 8. I asked my mum. She had already dieted. In fact, once when I was about 4 or 5, she'd taken me to her fat club. That week she'd put on weight. So they made her wear a piggy snout and sing a song about being a pig. So if you think of a 4 or 5-year-old witnessing that public humiliation, you're going to start to get that mindset that fat is bad.
I think the takeaway from that should be that your mom's fat club was populated by a bunch of goddamn cunts. I don't see how anyone with a shred of self-esteem would allow themselves to be put through that. But you did say the magic words, fat is bad. Because fat is bad. It's very simple. The closer you are to your proper body mass index, the better off you are. There's no magic there, sweetheart.
I lived through 20 plus, nearly 25 years of a very severe eating disorder. I was still fat all the way through it.
I'm glad this was brought up. Eating disorders are a bane on someone's existence. You can have bulimia, you can have anorexia nervosa, you can have an overactive eating disorder. There's no one type, but the thing is, you need therapy. You need professional help in order to deal with it. You cannot go on your own and just try to change your diet because you have a disease. You need help. And what I see is people with eating disorders who do not get the professional help they need. They try to do it on their own, and it winds up killing them. In this woman's case, you'll see later, it was a very traumatic time in her life. But she wasn't getting the help she needed. If her story's true, she was going to the wrong guy. So yes, eating disorders are a thing. Everyone should be wary of them, and you should give someone the benefit of the doubt if they're obese because they may have an eating disorder, but at the same time, they do not get a free pass because if they're not working on it with a professional, they're not trying to get better.
I got pneumonia and I was in the hospital for more than a week and I lost about 15 kilos. So what people might publicly have seen as me looking my best, I was actually extremely sick. Yeah.
For those of you unwilling to do the math, 15 kilos equals 38 pounds. I would posit that this woman was not well before she caught pneumonia, that she had a problem and needed help. To be able to lose almost 40 pounds in a week and have people think you looked healthy shows that you were not on the right path.
I used to want to be, skinny's not the word, slim. It was the sort of, idea that I used to think was going to make me a better person or was going to fix my life. And what bullshit.
Anyone who thinks weight loss is a panacea is doing it wrong. There's certainly no reason to think that it's going to fix your life. It is, however, going to save your life. You're going to avoid type 2 diabetes. You're going to avoid type 1 diabetes. You're going to avoid losing your feet and your eyes to diabetes. You're going to avoid arthritis. You're going to avoid stomach and bowel cancer. These are things that getting your body mass index back into normal range will help. Whether you call it slim or skinny or normal or fit, whatever, the fact is, if you don't lose the weight, you're going to pay for it.
Why don't you just eat less? Well, that makes sense.
When I used to diet and I lost weight, it felt like a huge achievement. And then it always came back. And then I felt like I failed.
Well, you did fail. You did it wrong. This is something that I see in the reading that I've done about weight loss. There are too many quick fix and quack solutions out there for losing weight. And people want to do it cheap and they want to do it dirty. There is no easy way to lose weight. Reduce your calorie intake, increase your calorie consumption. That's it. Doesn't matter if you only eat carbs. Doesn't matter if you never eat carbs. Unless you decrease your calorie intake and increase your calorie consumption, you're not going to get anywhere.
It's not always about how much you eat. We all know that thin person who eats heaps and never seems to put on weight. Well, it goes the other way too.
Like I just said, decreasing caloric intake is not enough. You've also got to increase your caloric consumption.
Sweat it off and lose 10 kilos in under a week, but I sweat. I train hard as I could, but still I only lose 2 or 3 kilos.
So now we've got the opposite side. You're increasing your caloric consumption, but what are you doing about caloric intake? Are you still hitting that buffet with your mates?
Until one day I realised it was the systems that failed. It was the diet. It was the pills. They were unsustainable. There's a reason that those companies make lots of money, and it's because they have repeat customers.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Skin removed, baked.
Yeah, I have a bad relationship with food. I've never had a good one. All the good stuff seems to be something that I dislike. All the bad stuff seems to be things that I'll consume in bucket loads.
I feel bad for this guy. I think it's pretty obvious He needs real professional help if he's going to lose that weight. There's no way he's going to be able to just pick a diet and do it on his own.
It's not that I love to eat a lot, but it's just that I love to taste everything. Anything edible, I'll eat it.
He doesn't eat a lot. He just eats everything that's edible. It's obvious that the fat in this guy's body is not just relegated to below the neck.
Got myself up to about 200 kilos and you're kind of thinking I should eat less and whatnot, but then it's just something that you just do.
Putting my conversion cap back on, 200 kilos is approximately 500 pounds. I don't know what else to say.
Cut the plate in half, eat only half my food, and then 3 hours later I'd be starving and I'd probably go into the pantry and eat the first thing I could find. And if that was chocolate biscuits, it'd be chocolate biscuits. If it was a carrot, I'd probably just go for chocolate biscuits.
How much fiber was in your diet? How many vegetables? How much protein? How many carbs? Some of those things fill you up. Some of those things don't. Are you drinking a lot of water between meals? You should keep hydrated. That helps you with your hunger pangs as well. And are you exercising? Because that helps with your hunger. That helps diminish the amount of food you want to eat because your body has become more efficient and it needs less fuel to do the same amount of work. Just cutting your portions in half isn't enough.
Got a local pizza joint up my way, it's drive-through. Of all things, it's drive-through. Even if I'm on a health kick and someone would say, let's go for a pizza, I usually say yes.
I'm wondering how this guy got down from 500 pounds. Did he have surgery? He hasn't said, but with as little self-control as he has, I'm beginning to wonder if it wasn't something drastic.
That question's kind of a trap for fat people because if I say, well, I eat a well-rounded diet, then they may think or say, well, you're a liar. And then if you start saying, well, I actually eat, whatever I want and I eat cake every day, then people are like, well, of course you do because you're fat.
Things are very binary with this woman, and neither side of that binary is any good. She's either a liar or I don't even know how to categorize that second one. It's just bizarre. I don't think her grasp on reality is very strong.
Are you worried about your health?
Finally, a decent question. Let's hope the answers are up to it.
This question usually reads to me more like, I think you should be worried about your health.
I really don't give a tinker's damn how you think that question reads. The only answer is you are or you aren't. Which is it?
In a word, yes. Being the way I am is not good for me.
Okay, that's one non-answer and one good answer.
Do I have health issues? Yes. Do I think they're because I'm heavy? Maybe.
Another non-answer. I would love to know what his reasoning is behind that maybe.
There is currently a real moral obligation to health. People who don't want to say, ew, I think fat is gross, usually say, are you worried about your health?
If this woman blogs about health, I'm going to call Anonymous and have them shut the internet down. What the fuck is a moral obligation to health? You have an obligation to health because it's good for you and it's good for society. The drain on medical resources alone because of obesity is nearly immeasurable. You have got to be kidding me.
I have diabetes, type 2, which is sometimes seen as the fat diabetes. I accept that my body comes with risks.
Being overweight is a primary risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Yes, your body does come with risks. What are you doing about it?
Being 40 years of age now, I feel sometimes like I'm 60, creaking knees and ankles.
Just worried about it. If my legs will be able to, to hold me.
I think as you get older, the more weight you have on you, the worse it is.
I had a pair of artificial hips installed about 18 years ago, and they're still good, thank you. But my doctor gave me one piece of advice before I left his office after my final checkup. He said, don't get fat. That was it. And that was all I needed to know. The more weight you have on your joints, the worse it is. The relative I spoke of earlier, the one who's been dieting and has lost a lot of weight, she carried that weight for quite a while. And then once the weight started peeling off, she noticed that her knees started hurting. She went to the doctor and they took x-rays and they said, well, you've got the knees of a 70-year-old. She's in her early 50s. And my relative said, well, I guess it was that protective layer of fat, huh? Joking. And the doctor said, well, yeah, absolutely. That's what did it. That's what kept the pain away. Don't get fat, Sparky. Don't get fat.
When I worry about my health, it's not so much about my size. I am most concerned about my stress levels.
Would it surprise you to know that eating a good diet and exercising regularly decreases stress levels? Would that surprise you? Or are you deeply into Miss Clown Car's blog?
It's not that I fat being lazy. I'm big, but I do hard work.
Okay, so you work hard. Great. Tell me again about that buffet.
You know, I work as an academic and I have a 20-month-old toddler and I burn the candles at both ends sometimes.
I can see how that would be tough, having a full-time job as an academic and a full-time job as a mom. But let's think about how long you want to be alive while that kid's growing up.
My brain kicks over every morning going, this is the day I'm going to change things. And then as the day progresses, old habits kick in and it always becomes, I'll do it tomorrow. I've always been that sort of person that, I won't pay the bill until the reminder comes. Mate, the late fees and interests when it comes to a heart attack is death. And that's something that you don't want to go down that road.
He puts things off almost until the very end. And he acknowledges that if he doesn't get healthy, he could die of a heart attack. And that's really putting things off until the end. I don't like to hand out internet diagnoses willy-nilly, but I do have some experience in healthcare, and I have some particular experience in mental health care, and I would not be surprised if this guy is suffering from clinical depression.
The realistic situation is it's very, difficult to lose weight and keep it off. If you are fat, you may as well live your life happily.
If happy is walking around looking like you haven't washed your hair in days, sounding like a steam engine with a busted boiler, waddling down the sidewalk, and making your child have to wonder just how long mommy's going to be alive, what definition of happy are you using? Because it's not one that I've ever seen.
I'm big and most people said that being fat will make you unhealthy. When I get to the health examination, and it comes out like everything is positive.
Wow. Once again, a new level of stupidity. Saying that you don't have to worry about your health because your exams are coming out positive right now is like saying you'll never have to repair your roof because it won't leak until it rains.
There's no one diagnosis for health. There's no one set of parameters for health.
So because a doctor can't prick your finger, look at the blood under a microscope and say, oh, you're healthy, means you don't have to worry about it? The sumo wrestler is dumb, yeah, but you're just willfully ignorant. And so ends part 2. I'm very curious as to how ABC picked up these 5 people. I'm very curious because aside from one very thoughtful, although pretty insecure guy, you've got a group of idiots. And one of them has a doctorate. But I'm going to wait until the end to tell you about that doctorate, just to keep you guessing. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for your attention.